Oh, awesome, awesome. That's great. Well, hang tight. Let me see if I can get this going. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Alrighty. Where there guys from Queens. Let's see if we can start. Oh yeah, there we are streaming. Okay. We will like and share that to my feed. We'll go back to my feed. My Spanish is getting better. It's
Well,
getting
good.
better.
I would hope so.
I'm not I'm not whole. Hey, I actually went to 3 different electronic stores yesterday. Somehow I forgot to pack the power supply for my external 22 terabyte hard drive. And so I had to get one, and 3 different stores. The third one had what I needed.
Excellent.
So that worked out. Let's see, we'll share this out to the broadcasting club. All right.
Now I have to be on my best behavior since everybody's going to see this.
That's right. Well, and a few people watch it live. Most people download it or watch
Sure.
it later. All right, we're going to share this to a page, to this Week in Radio Tech page. Got to switch the profile for that. And give me just a second. We'll have this posted. Last time I was here, I got to visit a radio station group that's here in Ponte Vedra. Um, this time so far, we haven't really had time to go do that. The radio station group, I swear that the Spanish radio industry, they are very self-sufficient. There are quite a few manufacturers here in Spain, and so Telos doesn't get a lot of traction here. We get
Oh,
some,
really?
but not a lot because there are Spanish hybrid manufacturers, Spanish automation manufacturers, Spanish transmitter manufacturers, Spanish console manufacturers.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
AEQ's backyard, isn't it?
yeah, it sure is. Sure is. That certainly is. Um, and I like to believe that Telos, is tops all of those, or well, all the ones in this in their category with better equipment. But hey, they tend to buy nationally, so they buy local.
Gotcha. There's a lot more national networks, so so you make a deal with the big ones and or you have to make the deal with just a handful of people and you get all the business kind of thing.
Maybe so. Although here in Ponte Vedra, it seems that the local stations that are part of a national, or some of them are affiliated with national networks. They are locally owned. We got to meet the lady who is the daughter of the father who started everything, and she was very hospitable to our getting a tour, and she was excited that we were there. And it's funny that the we walked in unannounced, and the secretary gatekeeper basically said, "No, we don't give tours. I don't care who you are." But the owner, the lady owner, overheard from her office, and she came right out and said, "No, no, no, come on in. We're going to show
I
you
was
all
going to say,
around."
I feel like you've got quite the global presence. Somebody would recognize Kirk Harnack for sure.
She didn't know me, but but my interpreter, but who is my wife's daughter, who's local here and fluent in English and Spanish, she explained loudly enough that that hey, Mr. Harnack is here. He owns radio stations in the U.S. Let's give him a tour. So anyway, let's go. It's top of the hour. Hey everybody
All
watching on
right.
the network live. We are so glad that you are here, and I really am. I am thankful, seriously thankful for each and every person who's able to join us either live or you subscribe to the show. Thank you very much. And without saying it on the finished version, hey, we're on YouTube. It's easy to have a YouTube account for free and uh, to subscribe to our channel. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What? That's right. Like, subscribe, and smash the button. Oh my gosh. Um, Hang on a second. Something wants my attention here. All right, we'll see if we can. There we go. Oh, I see what the deal is. I had to ask. All right, there we go. All right, we're ready to go. All right. Hey, thanks. You're watching the sausage being made here, and we'll start the show. Episode 763 in 3, 2. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone. In this case, it's this little guy to the light bulb at the top of the tower, which I don't have with me. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack, and coming to you today from Pontevedra, Spain, where the time is 11:01 p.m. and I should be asleep, but I got a nap today, and everything's good. Actually, just had dinner about an hour ago, so, because they're up late here in Spain, and it's just really been exciting to be here. And our show today, though, is not about Spain. It's not about Spanish radio. It's about leadership in engineering. And maybe there's a few technical tidbits to throw in as well. So I'm Kirk Harnack, out of the country, but in Spain, and just delighted to join you from here. And I'm glad that Suncast is along to make the show look good, as good as it possibly can. Our guest today is Kevin Trueblood. Kevin is recently elected as the president of the Society of Broadcast Engineers, mostly U.S., but actually an international organization. And we're going to talk to Kevin about leadership in the engineering world, and also Kevin typically has some good technical advice for us, since he does work every day in our business, the radio business. So, hey, Kevin, welcome in. It's good to see you. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. And by the way, I just want to point out that there's a old joke that's like, if you see somebody over 40 that's out after 9 p.m., they definitely took a nap. So I'm glad you adhered to that policy.
I did take a nap. Sadly, it was only about maybe 10 or 15 minutes today, but I,
That's
I,
all
I
you
did.
need.
But I didn't get up until 9 o'clock this morning because it's Spain.
Yeah. And
You
why
know,
would you? It's, take it easy. You're on vacation. Take it easy.
Well, I'm on a working vacation. I'm only taking a little bit of time, official time off from Telos, but my wife and I are in Pontevedra, Spain, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's like this old world small city, and you have this lovely mix of elder folks. It is an older population, but you do have some young kids. We were at a park today with our grandkids and had a lovely time. And then you do have some, I guess, well, younger than I am, middle-aged folks who have kids, and it's a lovely town, very European, very Spanish. Several cathedrals and that kind of thing. Very or Spanish influence because Spain. But and it's close to the ocean, so there's lots of seafood here. In fact, I'll brag on my wife for a second. My wife is an expert at cooking octopus, which in Spanish is called pulpo. So she is quite the expert at fresh seafood, but especially cooking octopus. She knows how to do that, and she loves the taste of it. Me, I go slow. So it's good to be here. Her daughter still lives here. We're staying at her daughter's apartment, and the grandkids are here. So anyway, that's why we're in Spain. We'll be here for another week or so. In fact, next week's show we will also be doing from Spain, although I might be at a beach resort. And we're trying to work that out. But her dental appointment is kind of on the same day, so it may be a little
Well,
touch
see,
and
now
go.
we
So
should have
anyway,
delayed this to next week, and then you and I could both sit on the beach because everything you described sounds like Florida, minus the European part. And I don't think octopus is nearly as popular here as it is over in Spain. So there
no,
is
it's
that.
not. You walk through the narrow, narrow streets of Pontevedra or many Spanish towns, especially those that are seaside, and you walk through the narrow streets, and of course, like a department store, the restaurants have a window, and they have in the window their specialty, their special of the day, and some of the restaurants have in the window a freaking octopus. Yeah, we'll
And
cook it. We'll kill it and cook it for you.
yeah, that's not my cup of tea, but kudos to you for giving it a try.
Well, Valentine's Day last year, I took my wife out to eat, of all places in Nashville, and we went to a very nice restaurant for Valentine's, and they actually had absolutely fresh octopus from Argentina. And my wife chatted with the camarera, the waiter, and they discussed how fresh it was, and she got it, and she was delighted. She says it was as good as anything she'd ever cooked. So anyway, I'm delighted to be here. It's great to travel internationally. I need to listen to some local radio, but I visited local radio last time I was here earlier this year and was greeted warmly by a local group of stations, and they had all Spanish equipment. The Spaniards are pretty um, pretty independent when it comes to equipment, software, and so forth. They didn't have much of anything from outside of Spain, and that's what they like. So anyway, enough about where I am. Hey, Kevin, the show is all about you. Why don't you give us the elevator speech about what you are doing these days and what has just occurred with you recently?
Well, I think the better question these days is what don't I do? Because there's a lot that I'm involved in. So my full-time job is with WGCU Public Media. We're the public television radio station based in Fort Myers, Florida. I'm the associate general manager for technology and operations. So I oversee our engineering and our digital departments as well. Which quick shameless plug: I do have a chief engineer opening. So if anybody has interest, you can contact me. I can tell you all about it. But aside from that, I run my own contracting business as well, and I work with a lot of radio stations here in this market. It keeps me fairly busy and keeps me out of trouble. And then, yes, most recently, I was elected president of the SBE, succeeding Ted Hand. Ted has been wonderful to work with, and he's done a great job with the SBE so far. And I'm excited to take over. Well, I don't want to say take over, but to lead this organization and really kind of dig into what makes the SBE successful and looking at ways that we can improve upon a lot of the things we're good at and kind of revisit maybe some of the things we don't do as well. And so there's a lot of work to do, and I've got a few more weeks before the clock starts on me, and I'm kind of trying to hit the ground running. So there's not a lot of gap.
I've been honored to be elected to the board of directors several times in my life. I had to sit out for at least one season. It turns out I sat out for 2 seasons, and now I've been reelected to the board of directors. So thank you very much if you voted for me. But typically, I will hear from the newly elected president, and as you, I'm sure, you call all of the board members and you kind of feel them out for, hey, what would you be good at? What committees might you be interested in heading up? Um, so anyway, I anticipate chatting with you some more, Kevin, as to what you might be looking to me to do, as well as the other board members, both those who are still in their term and those who are newly elected. Tell you what, we've got a lot to talk about, Kevin, but we've also got a quick sponsor to mention right here at the beginning. And one of the things we're going to be really talking about not only are Kevin's thoughts and responsibilities for the SBE, but Kevin is one of these guys that I've looked up to because I've seen him grow over the years in his career and his assumption of some leadership roles in guiding not only other engineers, but other people in the industry, whether they're engineers or not. And this has always impressed me about Kevin. And I've thought that what Kevin has shown in his career is something that a lot of engineers might want to do. And if you're like me, you're kind of afraid to do it. You're kind of afraid to kind of put your foot forward and maybe ask for or step up to a leadership role. And I'm going to be looking to Kevin for some advice about that. I know that in my own life, I've certainly experienced quite a few times where I've wanted to do something and I've kind of looked for permission from somebody I respect to say, Kirk, it's okay. You can do this. And I would encourage you to. So, anyway, we're going to be talking to Kevin about that in just a minute. Our show, This Week in Radio Tech, is brought to you in part by Air. That's AIIR, air.com. And they have, of course, a bunch of different products that are great for radio. And if you're an engineer and you can bring these products to the attention of your program director, your general manager, station owner, music director, they might be very, very happy about this. I know I'm delighted with Air's Playout One system for automation. We use that across all of our radio stations. Now I think it numbers about 21. Well, if you're tired of wrestling with clunky music scheduling software, that you have to install and maintain and update. And if your hard drive gets corrupted, well, you've got a big problem. Well, I want you to meet Air's music scheduler. It's powerful scheduling, simplified, and it's in your browser. That means it doesn't depend on a single computer where it's installed in order to work. With drag and drop clocks and reusable templates, you can build a day's playlist or a whole month, literally in moments. You can import your existing library, of course, that's key. Or if you need to, you can start fresh. You're starting a new format, for example. You can assign categories, commands, audio, uh, categories with lightning speed. And the cloud based platform frees you to schedule from literally anywhere, from a tablet, from a laptop, from your usual comfortable computer, even from your phone if you kind of have to, right? No installation, no headaches, and with fully customizable rules for artist separation, tempo flow, title thresholds, and more, you're always going to hit your station's unique sound. You can see issues highlighted in real time and get instant fix suggestions and export logs effortlessly into Playout One, into Wide Orbit, into Myriad, into Play It Live, station playlist. And that list is growing. Just make your request to Playout One, and we'll see if they can export to your automation system. Try Air Music Scheduler. You can try it for free through the end of September of 2025. So that is about 5 weeks now, 4.5 weeks that you can try it for free. And after that, it's $60 a month per station. So if you're ready to simplify your scheduling, visit air.com/scheduler, or hey, just go to air.com and click on the scheduler button and sign up for this today. Really good software and a really good online program from Air. I love the way that they are making this available in the cloud, where frankly it ought to be, because this is a function that the cloud handles well. All right, it's Kirk Harnack coming to you from Pontevedra, Spain, where it's 11:13 at night, and Kevin Trueblood is with me. Kevin, well, let's see. We've talked just a little bit about SBE. Let's talk a bit more about that. You've been elected the president of the SBE. What led you to run for president? It seems like there's a bit of a stepping stone course that is typically followed. Did you follow that same course to run for president?
More or less. I mean, it's if anybody's kind of paid attention to how a lot of our elections have worked, there is a nominations committee, and anybody can submit their name to run for any of the officer positions. But what tends to happen is you kind of there's kind of like a couple of circles of the SBE, like of leadership. Like the first one, a lot of people do is they get involved in committees, and then they get involved in the board of directors, like you have. And then you get into the executive committee, which is a kind of a smaller committee with all the officers and a couple of selected people that meet more regularly, and we discuss a lot more, operational things. We look to the board of directors to discuss a lot of the big picture stuff and guidance for the overall organization. And the executive director handles, or the executive committee handles more of the day-to-day operational stuff. And then you get into the officer positions, and there's treasurer, there's secretary, there's vice president, and then there's president. And typically there, I don't want to say they, because it's not like there's this invisible force or this team that's making it happen. But when you show an interest and you kind of get in to these inner circles, and really it just involves just being there and wanting to be involved and participating in a lot of the things that we do. And then it kind of leads you to get nominated and appointed to different things. I joined the board of directors back in 2017,
Ah,
and Jim Leifer, who was the president at the time, appointed me to the executive committee. And when they had some changes at the top, so he appointed me to the executive committee in 2019, and then And I think that was based a lot on, we did a strategic planning session in 2018 where I was kind of a very outspoken person. I think people were starting to get annoyed by how much I was talking versus everybody else, because I had a lot of opinions about things, and saw kind of a different perspective as the young whippersnapper in the room. And so as I kind of gotten more and more involved, and got more, and when I say involved, I was participating in more committees. I was getting into more meetings, and making myself available for things. I was appointed secretary, and it was 2019 or 2020. It was when RJ Russell left, and we changed the officer positions. I got appointed as secretary, and then I've been around ever since. So I've been vice president for the last 2 years. I was treasurer a year before that. So it was kind of the natural step was, now I've got the experience and the understanding of what the SBE does, and kind of have a vision for where I want things to go. And so, threw my name in the hat, because they asked my intentions a couple of years ago. What are your intentions? Do you want to continue on being president? Because not everybody does. It is a job. I mean, it is an unpaid job, but it is a job nonetheless. And there's a lot that is involved. So I was absolutely interested in it, and the reasons for becoming president for me is, for me, I'm somebody who always seeks opportunities where I can find them. And going back to 2008, when I became a member, I started going to meetings, and then I moved to Madison, Wisconsin, where they had a very active chapter. And I was at every meeting. I was chapter officer, chapter chair, and really got to know people. And it really helped my career even there, getting to know everybody and network and understand how things work beyond where just my job is. And to me, I saw so much value in this organization in just being a member and being active in the chapters, that when I saw an opportunity to be part of the leadership and help guide the organization, I'm like, I need to do this, because I want to give back and make sure that people like me in the future continue to have those opportunities, because it's been very important to me and very important to my career.
I'd be as long as I've been either a member of the SBE or on the board of directors, which I have been for a number of years until I timed out and then got reelected. It seems to me that an organization like SBE has several different ways to offer benefit to its members, and one of them is simply the benefit of being a member of something
Mhm.
bigger, of something with like-minded people, people who are often in similar situations, and then having camaraderie with our local meetings, where you have a bona fide sanctioned opportunity to talk with other people that are in your profession that maybe you wouldn't normally speak with day to day. And oftentimes we meet at different people's facilities, so you get to see how other people do things, maybe without giving away industry secrets that may be yours. So that's one benefit. But another benefit would be the things that an organization can do that you can't do for yourself. So maybe there's obviously things like insurance programs, whether it's an inland marine policy or a life insurance program, things that are that an organization can do for you that you can't do for yourself. And then there's to me, what is really valuable is the certification that a professional organization like the Society of Broadcast Engineers is able to establish in the industry, a certain amount of authority and respect, to certify members who pass certain goals and tests and that kind of thing. They can say, hey, this person is qualified. We say so because we know what we're doing in certifying this person. So I've kind of outlined three different little areas. I wonder what your thoughts are on any one of those, your choice, or more, to say how you see the SBE being able to benefit its members.
Yeah, and that's a question I remember going back to when I was it was 2006, 2007 when I was contemplating joining the SBE. I hadn't become an engineer yet. I was kind of a de facto engineer. But I was working with a couple of my mentors, and I remember him saying, "Gosh, I paid my dues and I never got anything out of it. So what was the point of
Hmm.
being a member?"
Yeah.
And that's true, but I mean, if you ask 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers to why they're a member. I think it's very
Yeah.
valuable that, you know, some people see the value in just uh, kind of raising awareness to our profession, to making sure that, you know, people are, that our industry is respected, that there are opportunities for our professionals, that, you know, there's career advancement opportunities. And maybe that's what you're interested in, just being part of this association and promoting it. I think that's very valid. There's other people that see it as, and this is what has been true for me, is I get, I've always maintained that when I go to conferences, I get more out of uh, being in a room full of people and talking to people and asking them about the work they're doing and the experiences they've had than I do at the sessions. And that's no disrespect. I've certainly led a lot of sessions myself, but that's where I get the value, is being in the chapters and talking to the members, and and being able to network with everybody, because that, to me, and the example I give is, I've always been a radio guy. And when I was in Madison, active in the SBE chapter, I spent a lot of time at TV stations, and I spent a lot of time around TV engineers. So I understood their facilities. I understood the issues that they dealt with, the regulatory changes that they were dealing with. So I had an understanding of that, which then helped me get a job overseeing a TV station. I was able to come in and understand a lot of it, and I had some things to learn about how everything worked, but I grasped most of what was there. That would not have been available to me if I hadn't participated in the local chapter the way I did. And now, to this day, for my contracting business, even being there, again, I get to know the people in this market. That's led to me understanding who the engineer is for this, who's the engineer for that, helping them with projects. So it has benefited my career personally a number of times. And then there's people, yes, that want to get certifications, that want to, that, you know, are interested in getting the certifications. And we can demonstrate every year, we do our compensation analysis, and SBE members who are certified consistently earn more than those who are not certified. And I'm sure
Mm.
there's a few different reasons for it. We've never really decoded it. I've got a few theories as to why, but the data shows, based on this survey, that people who are certified do earn more than those who are not certified in both TV and radio. So there's a number of different reasons, and really, it just boils down to, you get into it what you get back from it what you put into it. If you want to just be a member that is interested in just advancing our organization, maybe you're a fan of our government relations efforts. We do a lot of government advocacy work, particularly when it comes to protecting broadcast spectrum. We're now, you know, dealing with a brand new FCC that is looking to make a lot of changes, and we are going to be on the forefront of that as well, to make sure that any changes that they make, they have an understanding of what we do for broadcast engineering and how it's going to affect the broadcast stations from a technical sense. Maybe that's the reason why you're a member. I mean, again, I say there's 100 different reasons why you could be a member. The most important thing is that you're getting the value out of the association, that you should be, that you want to be. And if you're not, talk to us. Let's see what we can do to improve your experience and how you can make it what you want it to be. Because really, the association is, it is by and for its members. We are here to serve you. That's what we do. So if you want to see a change, if you want to see changes, if you want to influence how your local chapter operates, if you want to be part of the leadership, we're always looking for people who are willing to step up and raise their hand and be part of that conversation.
Good, interesting, and I'm glad that you're really looking at this in a very holistic kind of way. Um, all right. Hey, tell you what, I want to continue this conversation. You mentioned FCC regulations changing, and uh, with the current administration, I've heard, and when Trump was president some years ago, I heard this concept of delete, delete, delete. That is, for every new regulations, you got to delete. What was it, five or something like that? And it sometimes, I think we recognize in our industry that there are probably regulations that are not necessary or superfluous. Some might say, "Oh no, we need to." The market does a good job of of taking care of this on its own. So I'd like to kind of delve into that when we come back from our sponsor ad. We're talking to Kevin Trueblood. Kevin is not only an engineer, and we'll talk about his role with that in a few minutes, but also he's the newly elected president of the SBE. And we will get into what I've been promoting, the topic of leadership. He talked about that some already, but I'd like to talk about the psychology of leadership. And I think Kevin might have some ideas about that. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack. It's This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to the light bulb at the top of the tower. And one of the topics that's really been hot I've been talking about it for several years. I don't know that it's been hot for several years, and that is virtualized broadcast infrastructure. Other industries have been virtualizing for years. And Broadcast Bionics, who is just great at writing software that just works and helps broadcasters to enhance what they do anyway. You don't have to operate in a different way. Their software and packages and programs tend to help you make more content based on what you've been doing anyway. Well, Virtual Rack from Broadcast Bionics is engineered simplicity for broadcast professionals. What do I mean? Well, imagine deploying containerized broadcast applications with the flexibility, the resilience, the density, and the scalability that you need without having to become a Linux expert. Now, that's my dream. I have a love-hate relationship with Linux myself. Sometimes I love it, and sometimes I'm just totally flummoxed by it. Well, with Virtual Rack, all the heavy lifting happens behind the scenes. You get a purpose-built appliance, an intuitive management interface, and a ready-to-go application library, all working in harmony with just a few clicks of your mouse. If you need an app, we'll simply select it from the library, enter the license code, assign a name, allocate an IP address, and bam, you're live. No complex installations, no jargon heavy manuals. Virtual Rack even auto calculates the number of application units and system resources required. So you always know what's under the hood in terms of resource allocation. And that also means that you are not going to be allowed to overburden a server when you use Virtual Rack. You'll always be under the limit, and it'll let you know, hey, you've already deployed 12 things, Bubba. I think number 13 needs to go on a new piece of equipment. And when the unexpected hits, well, you're covered. You can control and stop and start applications. You can export configurations. That way, if something blows up, you have the configuration saved. You can apply software updates or remove applications completely, all from the same management screen. Built-in backup and built-in failover ensure system resilience with minimal effort. So Virtual Rack is enabling everyone, I mean everyone, to use containerized products, powerful, streamlined, and broadcast ready. You ready to simplify? Well, visit Broadcast Bionics today and see how Virtual Rack puts professional, resilient, containerized deployment literally just a few clicks away. I love these apps and the overriding management app called Virtual Rack. Check it out today at bionics.co.uk or just Google Bionics Virtual Rack and you'll find it. Thanks, Broadcast Bionics and Dan McQuillan. By the way, Dan is going to be on the show here in, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks or so to tell us about some of the latest things that he's been involved with, including really putting ChatGPT to work to enhance your broadcast, your on-the-air operations. All right. We're talking to Kevin Trueblood. I'm Kirk Harnack. Kevin, my goodness, what did I say we were going to talk about? It's been 2 minutes since I promoted.
We were talking about SBE and leadership, and oh, you wanted to talk about the FCC, the rule changes.
Yeah, and I've only read headlines and a little bit of article, not a whole lot. Maybe you know more about what the FCC might have in mind and whether it's even broadcast related in terms of delete, getting rid of regulations that may stand in the way of broadcasters, doing a better job anyway.
Yeah, there was a few things that we filed on initially when the FCC came out and said, they originally did their whole, like, what rules do you want to delete, the SBE did submit a filing that supported a few different initiatives. And to be honest, I don't recall the few different topics off the top of my head. But we did support a few different things that impacted broadcast that we felt were unnecessary, and some of them, we're just kind of at the beginning right now of what the FCC is considering. What we
Mm,
try and do when it comes to government advocacy is, we really try and present this from as technical subject matter experts. So we try
mhm.
and present, at least fully inform the FCC on technical matters as to how they impact the engineer, how they impact the stations and the work that we do. So a lot of what we have done to date, if you go back on our website and look at all of our filings, a lot of what we've done is concerning spectrum, because the FCC is constantly looking for ways that they can reallocate spectrum for wireless carriers. And so we're trying to find some way that we can coexist with wireless carriers. We know that there is a huge demand for spectrum, but there's also a huge role still for broadcasters that we need them to understand is important and crucial to communication infrastructure. And so a lot of our efforts to date have been that. But now that we're facing a new administration, a new FCC, we're trying to stay ahead of, well, and keep up with some of the changes that they want to make when it comes to, like, when they put out these notice of proposed rulemakings, or these notice of inquiries, where they're just kind of gauging what the interests are, what kind of things can we change. And so we rely on our government relations committee, which to date's been headed by Ched Keeler, as well as the committee is made up of the executive committee and our FCC general counsels, that we will file and basically explain these are, we either support the FCC's initiative. Sometimes we will do things in collaboration with the NAB, because they have their own opinions as well. We also this year supported the transition along with the NAB for ATSC 3, a sunsetting of the ATSC 1 standard in the near future. So there are all kinds of things that we're trying to be involved with. And again, we try and approach it from a subject matter expert for all things technical. And there's some times where it kind of gets into the business of things. Like, we're not going to weigh into things like the ownership cap limits or anything like that, because that's more of a business decision as opposed to a
Yeah.
technical decision. So there's a fine line that we kind of ride sometimes, but we try and stay on the side of, we're the subject matter experts. Here's what we can offer as far as advice and how these changes can impact broadcast engineers and broadcast stations.
Interesting, interesting. And I'm sure that the potential reallocation of C-band satellite is going to be a hot topic, because it seems like I read just today where other industries, particularly cellular and aviation, are wanting all of what we use currently in C-band downlink spectrum for program distribution, and TV stations continue to use that as well. Do you have any thoughts about that? I know that, for example, we moved some stations in Maui, and somehow we failed to install the filter on our C-band receiver, and after a while, at some point in time, our satellite receivers became unreliable, and we had to
Hmm.
go to their internet backup, which of course were some, variable amount of seconds behind real time, right? So it was pretty inconvenient. We got the filter put on. We're back to satellite operation, but this could be really inconvenient for C-band downlinking purposes, and it just, man, it seems frustrating to me. Even though internet is available for program distribution, man, it's in some ways, it's hard to beat C-band satellite for that. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, the interesting thing about that was kind of snuck into that big beautiful bill that was passed back a couple of months ago. That wasn't something that, I mean, we knew that there was demand for that spectrum, but that was something that was put in, and passed very quickly. So, which it was part of the part of that bill that was passed was reestablishing the FCC's authority to auction spectrum, which had expired, and the FCC was expected
Ah,
to get that. But then in the bill was also the mandate that said, oh, and now since you have it, go ahead and sell off this spectrum, which caught kind of a lot of people by surprise. We knew there was talk about it, and now that it's law, it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to do this, or figure out a way to do this. And we don't know all of the details yet. I believe there was a time span set for, I think it was 2 years, 2 or 3 years, that they have to get it auctioned off and then potentially do a transition. I mean, there's no doubt that satellite is still a very practical and reliable way to get communication for any number of things, but primarily from one to many in the way that things are syndicated. So it's still very crucial to what we do. But there's also the reality that internet is important, and now you've got multiple ways that you can get internet. You can get any number of land-based things, redundant land-based internet delivered. Plus, you've got Starlink. Plus, you've got wireless. So you've got multiple options to keep internet going, but it's still the internet. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
reality of it. So once we kind of see where the details are going, I imagine that we'll be kind of help providing some input as far as the logistics of making it happen, because there's a lot of players that are involved in having to do this, from the syndicators to the satellite companies themselves to the radio stations and the television stations themselves. Because they say, oh, you can go internet, you could go C-band, but I'll tell you, or not C-band, KU-band, but I'll tell you, here in Florida, KU-band's kind of useless in any given summer afternoon because we
Yeah.
lose the feed and rain fade. So
Yeah.
so there are a lot of practical things, and maybe we can find a way to coexist. There's still a lot of details that we have to work out, and no doubt once we start seeing where the what the realities of this actually happening are and the details coming out, we'll be there to help guide the process.
People who are smarter than me and maybe have a wider view than you or me can look at spectrum and see, is this really something that cellular is important. People want to communicate, and there's lots of money involved with that, and that's a good thing. Sending the Sean Hannity show to broadcasters is probably not as big a financial factor, right, as the cellular industry, or having aircraft with their ground reflecting radar. You can make arguments for safety, and you can, and aircraft can't use the internet to determine their radar height, right? But we can use the internet to distribute radio programs pretty easily until it doesn't work. I think that as time goes on, that more broadcasters are probably getting more than one way to access the internet, from different backbones. And in many places that's available, but in a few places it's still not. One of the programs that my two of my stations carry is delivered by internet, and the people who do the show have it worked out to where it's always as a delay that's reliable. So the show always starts at some number of seconds past the hour. I don't know why they don't just start the show themselves that number of seconds before the hour, so we get it on the top of the hour. I don't know that, but anyway, it's possible to compensate for buffering and SRT and other delays that you want to have for reliability on the internet. What I'm saying is that there's ways around this, and it wouldn't be the end of the world for broadcasters if C-band reception went away. You agree or disagree? It wouldn't be the end of the world?
Well, I mean, I'm sure we can find a way around it. I mean, my official position is not going to be, "Yeah, we should do away with C-band," because the fact of the matter is
Right.
it's still a very efficient and effective means. And your point, yeah, maybe distributing Sean Hannity isn't the best use of the spectrum, but there are also a lot of other very practical uses still in the EAS system, and getting live breaking news to the public, and
Ah,
emergency information. The story I tell people, the example I give people is, having now been through in Southwest Florida 3 hurricanes in my 10 years that I've been here. Every time,
wow.
Milton wasn't as bad because we were further south than where the direct impact was, but going through Ian and Irma, about 5 years apart, we didn't have any reliable internet for about 3 4 days after the storm. Ian was worse,
Oh,
and
wow. Wow.
Cellular, that's land-based, that's everything. There was no reliable internet for about 3, 4 days. It was broadcast. That was it. That was the only thing that was keeping people informed. And things started coming back online after a few days. But and yes, there is a case to be made. Well, you can put up Starlink or some other satellite or something that can get you online. And that's how a lot of us are dealing with this going forward. I've put those in. But the fact of the matter is, it's still an efficient way to get communication means out there. And I think there's a way that we can potentially make this work. Otherwise, we're going to have to come up with a plan B if it's going to go away.
Yeah. Satellite one to many is really good. And that's why we've used it for what, 40 years now, one to many. Um, uh, Kevin, I want to, oh gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue what I wanted to move on to next before we have to take our next break. Oh yeah, well, just the fact I'm not sure that many SBE members are aware that the SBE has legal
Mhm.
counsel that represents the desires or the needs or the thoughts or the concerns of broadcast engineers or the engineering community. Could you speak to that just a bit, just to let SBE members know that yeah, we actually have strong legal representation that comments and makes sometimes very strong comments on issues before legislative bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we've got a couple of different attorneys that we work with. Co Ramsey, as well as Patrick Cross and Noah Hawk, have all been really great. We were so spoiled because for so long Chris Imlay was such a good friend to us, and he was such a great counsel. And he retired just a few years ago. But these guys have been absolutely crucial to the success of our government advocacy. And what they're really good at doing is within the government relations committee, we can discuss the ideas and we can discuss the things that we'd like to talk about in front of the FCC and in front and with other players. But they're the ones that can actually tell you, they've got the pulse on what's happening inside the FCC, and they understand where their motivations are and where they're going, what's realistic, what isn't. So that's where they earn their keep, is in kind of guiding us to what is possible, what is legally possible, and what the SBE is capable of doing. And they actually will type up themselves. So we'll tell them, here's the things that we want to cover, and they're very well versed in a lot of the things that, I mean, they know all about spectrum and all about the policies, and they're probably just as technical as a lot of us engineers are. So they understand these things, and they're the ones that type up the filings ultimately, and will submit it to the FCC on our behalf. So they are crucial to making things work for us.
Well, I think that's encouraging and cool, and yeah, for decades we've had that engineers, workaday engineers like myself, perhaps like you, actually do have a voice that has some weight in legislative bodies. So, and with the FCC, regulatory bodies like the FCC, and also with Congress. So that's very very encouraging. Um, uh, oh gosh. It's late here. It's 11:45 p.m. Uh, one thing we're going to get to after our next break, Kevin, is I want to talk about this notion of leadership, and we've been putting that off, and I want to talk about it because I think that plays well into how engineers look at their careers. Some engineers, del- deliriously happy with where they are and how they want to operate. But if you can step up and show leadership potential, leadership mindset, leadership capabilities, this can certainly advance your career, and that's part of what SBE is about, is advancing that. So, Kevin, after our next break, would you be willing to give us your thoughts on leadership, stepping forward and stepping out and becoming a leader, and how the SBE could help? Would you do that for us?
Absolutely. I have the unfortunate quality of being a severely extroverted person, so I'm happy to talk about everything.
Now, see, I don't see you as severely extroverted, just a little bit. So I see
Well, let
myself
me
as
put it
being
this way.
over there.
If you contrasted me to my wife, she's a very introverted person. We complement each other very
Ah,
nicely.
Okay. We're talking to Kevin Trueblood. He is the recently elected president of the SBE, Society of Broadcast Engineers, and he's a longtime friend and wonderful engineer. The hurricanes that Kevin mentioned, he and his staff have really come up with solutions to stay on the air when it just seemed impossible. So I'm looking forward to hearing Kevin's thoughts on leadership. Hey, This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Angry Audio. You know, Angry Audio a few years ago did a really great thing. They did our industry a great favor, and that is they bought Radio Systems because Radio Systems was closing down. Dan Braverman was retiring and really didn't want to carry on the business. Nobody else was capable of doing that until a buyer was found, and that was Mike Dosh at Angry Audio. And what a great thing to continue this technology. In fact, um, on I was on Facebook this week, and I was looking at various different groups, and one of them I think was a group that talks about low voltage wiring, low voltage electronics. Things that are 48 volts and less. And the topic came up about using Ethernet to carry signals other than, using cat cable, you carry signals other than Ethernet. Well, I chimed right in because I love Studio Hub. Let's take a look at some Studio Hub products here. So some adapters. I use these things all the time. I keep a bevy of stock at my radio stations in case we need to hook something else up. And these are just great. Using category cable, Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, using category cable to run signals, whether it's balanced analog audio, whether it's AES EBU digital audio, whether it's GPIO contact closures, and of course, whether it's Ethernet, maybe carrying audio over IP. Um, Cat cable works great. Hey, in a pinch, I've carried microphone signals over Cat 5 cable and literally a couple hundred feet, and it was great. It worked perfectly well in my application. And the adapters that are made, invented by Studio Hub and continued to this day by Angry Audio, these are just great. There's so many different ways, so many different adapters available, whether it's XLR, tip ring sleeve. They do even have unbalanced adapters. Now you want to have that short cable for that, and maybe you want to have a female RJ45 style connector, or you want to have a male with a particular amount of blue cable that's shown on the screen right now. There's so many different ways to buy Studio Hub cabling that it boggles the mind, but also they got things to fit your needs exactly, and they make tons of adapters to adapt to different brands of audio interfaces. Hey, maybe you need an audio interface for a satellite receiver or a GPIO interface for a satellite receiver. Well, Angry Audio has those. Tell them what kind of satellite receiver you have and tell them what you're going to. They also have adapters that connect to the backside of, say, an Axia GPIO node or the equivalent from Wheatstone. You have a lot of options there, and the Studio Hub adapt. Hey, I've built whole radio stations and never once fired up the soldering iron. that's a real pleasure to click these things together and make great connections. So check them out from Angry Audio at angryaudio.com. Choose what you need. And hey, little hint here, don't go for any substitutes. Don't go for any third party stuff because Studio Hub has figured this out a long time ago and they make the best stuff out there. It's really reliable. Thanks to angryaudio.com for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Hey, we also have another great sponsor, and that's our friends at Max Connect. Max Connect is this company that was started by Josh Bone in Alabama, and he's basically nationwide now. They do a lot of different services. You've heard me talk for years about Max Connect Wireless, but you've also, if you're interested in doing it in one of these FM audio processors that runs in Windows, well, Max Connect can help you out with that because they make, actually in collaboration with Angry Audio, they make a box called the U.192. There's a picture of it on the screen right now. The Max Connect Broadcast U.192 MPX USB sound card. My goodness, that's a mouthful. But what does it do? Well, you connect this box to the USB connection on your computer. And I got to tell you, USB connections have become very reliable because they're kernel level drivers now that just run USBs. Very as reliable as the operating system. These things don't fail on their own. They run with the operating system. And if you're running one of these FM audio processors on a Windows machine, like um, the Omnia SST or Stereo Tool or Breakaway One, any of these can put out the multiplex FM composite signal, can put it out to a proper sound card. The problem is you can't find a proper sound card. Well, Max Connect and Angry Audio have developed U.192 because it's exactly what you need. It puts out the most clean, most beautiful composite signal that you've ever seen or heard. It does it just beautifully, perfectly. And at the same time, the Max Connect U192 can receive your analog or your AES EBU digital signal and bring that into the computer over the same USB connection. This is really an amazing box. It's purpose built for our industry to make your station sound great at, frankly, a really low price for these Windows-based FM processors. Check it out at maxconnect.com, the U.192 MPX broadcast sound card. Thanks, Josh Bone. I appreciate your leadership in this industry, and bringing us products that do what we need done and do it very well. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack. It's This Week in Radio Tech, and Kevin Trueblood is our guest. Kevin, let's talk about leadership. Leadership scares the Jesus out of me until somebody tells me, Kirk, you can do it. It's okay. Tell me about your own, maybe your own progression into leadership.
I think I've just never really had that fear, of kind of being out in front of people or being able to say what I want to say. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude or anything like that. It's more that just I try and be constructive and helpful where I can. And to me, what makes the difference in roles with the SBE and other places where I've kind of stepped up and I've led some other associations and some other organizations. The it, it starts by just being there, by just showing up. I mean, it is really that easy. If you want to have a voice, it starts by just being there and being in the room. And you don't have to start out of the gate. And let's take, for instance, the SBE. You know, it it is a big deal to put yourself out there and to run for the board of directors, and and to put all this information out there, have your picture in front of everybody. It isn't for everybody, and I don't expect everybody to do that. But what I can tell you is that just by stepping forward, just by being present and raising your hand when they're looking for volunteers, that's a big step in and of its own. And a lot of times that's really all it takes, is just to raise your hand and offer to help and to be part of the process. And you want to, and to be helpful, because we all have opinions and we all have things that we all have ideas of what we want to do, but you have to be able to take those ideas and then put them into action. And that's kind of, to be honest with you, that's the thing that I think about. And now taking over as president, it's like all these ideas and all these things I've been talking about for a while. It's like, okay, now I actually have to go do it. And it's finding then the right people that can help you along the way. And the good news is, Kirk, you and I have had conversations. There are other people that have raised their hand and are willing to step up. And that for me is in becoming the president of the SBE. That's what I've been doing a lot of the last couple of weeks, is talking to other board members, talking to existing committee members, and getting what their interests are, because we have a lot of people that joined the SBE, the leadership, they got on the board of directors, or they got into a committee, or were put on a committee or something like that. And maybe that's not where their interests are, or their talent lies. That to me, in being a leader, is trying to figure out where everybody's interests are, what their passions are, and then trying to find a way to put those passions into action and put that interest into action. So that's been a lot of what I've been doing the last couple of weeks. And again, it just starts by raising your hand and saying, I would like to help. I'd like to be part of the process. And that goes a lot further. And being able to speak up and being not afraid to say things. I was talking to Jeff Welton, and Jeff said, gosh, I'm looking forward to doing it. I'd love to. He heads our nominations committee, and he said, I'd love to do that again. He goes, but as long as they don't kick me out of the room. And I said, honestly, I want people to have opinions. I want people to speak up while they're in the room, challenge, the status quo. This is how we make change.
I think so many engineers, at least myself, and I think I speak for a lot of engineers, certainly not everyone, we're really comfortable in dealing with an errant piece of equipment. We're really comfortable in discovering a new piece of equipment or a new system, something that we can wrangle, not a human being, and we're comfortable with that. But when the opportunity comes to maybe work with other human beings and get them to do something, like call people up and say, "Hey, would you lead this committee? Would you be on this committee?" Um, uh, a- that's just a little bit scary. We're if it's hard for a piece of equipment to reject you because by golly, you can overcome that. Typically, we
Well, you
often
haven't
aren't.
dealt with a really fussy transmitter at 1 o'clock in the morning, have you?
Well, actually, I
Because
have,
I
but
beg to
that's
differ. They can be really cantankerous sometimes.
so. Are you saying people are easier than transmitters to deal with?
Oh, not at all. Oh, absolutely not. But I will say I had the revelation. This is the job that I've been in now has been I feel like my first true leadership position. I've been in it for about 10 years now. And I had management jobs before, but this is one where I really felt like I had to lead a staff and lead people and professionals and not just sit around and tell people what to do. And what occurred to me one day was if you can figure out, a good engineer can take the time to read the manual to understand how something works. And when there's a problem, be able to troubleshoot and understand, what are the symptoms that are happening? What are the things that are causing this condition? And then be able to take your experience and fix it. Well, I'm not saying that people are transmitters, but it's not unlike managing people. It's understanding what motivates people. Why are they here? Why do they want the job that they're asking for? Why are they in the job that they're in? Why do they show up to work every day? What is their interest in being part of this process? And then figuring out how to harness that energy and motivate them. And money's obviously a big thing, but it's not for everything. In an association like the SBE, we're all volunteers, so we're here for a reason. We all came to the SBE leadership for a reason. We all want to see something happen. We all want to be part of the process. So what is that? And it's understanding the why people are motivated to do what they do. And then
Hmm.
it's up to me as the president or as somebody's manager to then understand, okay, I need them to do this, or the organization needs this. What is it going to take for you? What help do you need from me to get from point A to point B to show up and do the thing? And I'm not somebody who is going to just sit around and boss people around and say, do this, do that. It's like, no, I'm going to help you be part of the process. I want to do what I can to make sure that you can succeed, because when you succeed, we all succeed. It sounds cheesy, but it's true. So to me, it's like taking that time to understand what motivates people and why they're doing what they're doing. That can help you get that much further in being a manager
Hmm.
to get them to do what you want them to do.
Let's chat really quick about this SBE leadership development course. Do you know much about that? I haven't gotten to go to that, but don't we have another one coming up soon?
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel that one, and the
Ah,
sad
okay,
reality
okay.
is that we didn't get enough registrants this year, which has happened before, and there's a few different reasons why, but that is something that we are going to have conversations about in the coming year, because there is interest in
Mhm.
doing it, and it is a soft skill that that engineers should learn, and particularly ones that are in management, or even people that want to become management, or just even be better at what they do,
Mhm.
even if you're not in management. So, we're talking about other ways that we can develop leadership courses and make make those offerings available to people and make them accessible as well. Because that's the big thing. The big ask for a leadership development course is that it's historically been in like Atlanta, and this year it was going to be in LA, which can be difficult for people to travel, particularly if you don't have an organization that supports you. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to do, is to help find ways that we can make things like this more accessible to more people, because that's going to make it obviously more easy for more people to participate.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I would love to be involved or take that course myself. So I've it's and yeah, certainly a lot of engineers are not part of an organization that's willing to send them off for several days at a cost of nearly $1,000, plus hotel and travel. But the results, if that engineer is primed and ready to receive the information and put it into action, hey, you can turn a mediocre or average engineer into somebody who's a leader, and they're not teaching engineering things, they're teaching leadership skills on how to work with other people and how to lead yourself. That's pretty important. And then how to lead other people as well in your organization. Do I kind of hit the nail on the head with that?
I think so. I mean, if you could boil it all down, at least in my opinion, it's just you got to spend more time listening than you do talking. And I do a fair amount of talking. I do. I have no problem in doing that, and I'm still on the radio, and I love to talk and all this kind of stuff. But to me, it just boils down to just spend a lot of time listening and understanding people.
We're talking to Kevin Trueblood. He's been elected the president of the SBE. So that means that literally thousands of SBE members have thought enough of Kevin to elect him as president, to trust him to lead the organization. And I'm certainly one of those. And probably you are too, if you're watching the show and you're an SBE member. Tell you what, we got one more segment coming up. It's our last block, as they say in the biz. And Kevin is going to have a couple of points for us, maybe some engineering things he's run across lately. And I'm going to ask Kevin, of course, for a tip of the week. And this is his notice. Kevin, this is your notice. Tip of the week coming up in 2.5 or 3 minutes. Our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you by an amazing product that so many on-air talent insist on, demand, love to have, and it's called Vox Pro. Let's check it out.
Hey, what's happening? St. John here, coming to you from Command Central, and wanted to tell you about the absolute best partner you can have in radio. I'm talking about, boom, Wheatstone's Vox Pro. Now, a lot of folks have used previous versions of Vox Pro, all awesome, but I want to tell you about some of my favorite new features in 7. And for folks who've never used Vox Pro before, I'm about to tell you why it's an absolute game changer and essential for really fast-paced multi-element radio. Lots of different audio software out there. Why Vox Pro? Because it was designed for radio. It's the only software designed to do what we needed to do, which is record, edit, playback in real time. When I say lightning fast, I'm going to show you how fast you can edit stuff up in Vox Pro right now. So literally 3 clicks on the controller, mark left, mark right. Everything that gets marked, you hit delete, it goes away. It's literally that fast. So we're going to take this part right here. Boom. From caller 9 to him saying, I'm ready.
Call 5, ready for that secret sound.
Boom. All of that stuff, hit delete, it goes away. Here's your edit.
You are tackling secret sound, caller 9. I'm ready, St. John.
So one of the best features of version 7, this is awesome. It's effects macros, and you can literally put a chain of effects together so that instead of having to normalize a phone bit and then use noise reduction on it and EQ it and all that, you can literally build a chain. One button, this one's called call right here. I just click that. All of those processes happen instantaneously. Literally saves 80% of your editing and cleanup time. Final thing that I love about Vox Pro, and there's so much more to get into, but one of my favorite things, you can load it on a laptop. I've literally done my show from a hotel room in Armenia to the conference room at, this was fun, jury duty. Great thing, no one could tell the difference. Vox Pro makes it totally easy. Telling you, if you're looking for the best on-air partner, call my friends at Wheatstone, ask them about Vox Pro, and you will be glad you did.
So what did he say on the air? Guilty. From jury duty. Hey, thanks a lot, St. John. And if you want Vox Pro, get it from Broadcasters General Store. You can check them out at bgs.cc. That's the website. You know, I love to call these folks. They're so good on the phone. They're nice people. They got sharp pencils. Ooh, there's a pencil on the screen right there. And they will make you a good deal and tell you when it's going to be there. Call them at 352 7700. That phone number, of course, is on the website is at bgs.cc. Love these folks. They support our industry and they support us as engineers. Thanks very much, Broadcasters General Store. All right, Kevin, we got just a couple of minutes left in our show. Maybe you've got an engineering thing that's hit you lately you'd like to pass along to us, and a tip of the week. What's going on?
Oh gosh, the big thing I've been doing or working on lately is actually doing Starlink installs
Oh,
and designing. Yeah, so I've been putting them in at our transmitter sites because, as I said down here, it's a challenge with internet, particularly after storms and being that we're in the middle of hurricane season. That's the project that I've been working on is actually redesigning our STL system so that it can either work over our primary, our backup, or now we've got a third level backup on Starlink. And basically designing the paths so that everything can fail over redundantly and I've got multiple options because I'm the type of engineer that I like backups on backups on backups on backups on backups. So I've got a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. I don't want to leave the air, and particularly during hurricanes, I don't. That's what we're here to do is to serve the public and to provide that emergency communication. So that's the big thing. I will tell you that with those with those systems, the bigger dish that you can get, the better, because that's going to provide you faster speeds, more reliable uplinks. And matter of fact, I had an outdoor church that has been struggling with wireless data connectivity. They've been trying to stream from their outdoor location that they don't have any internet service, and that has basically solved their problem. Was just setting up this antenna, and it's again the mini is attractive and it's good for data for just some general browsing and whatnot. But you got to get the bigger dishes if you want the bigger throughput that will give you STL. So you'd be surprised at how inexpensive it can be. And this is not an ad for that service by any means, but it can be a game changer in keeping you on the air when everything else is falling apart.
someday I want to understand how the dish size and the speed you get relate to each other because I always think of this as a digital cliff. Like if you don't have
Mhm.
enough EB over noise, it just doesn't work. But
Yeah.
indeed different sizes end up resulting in different available speeds. It's different modulation schemes for smaller dishes. Do you happen to know?
It's my understanding is it hits more dishes because it hits more satellites because it's
Oh,
the Starlink system is not like one satellite that's aiming at the Earth. It's
right.
multiple satellites. So the bigger of an angle you have, the more it can see, and therefore it can balance the load across multiple satellites. So the minis are real attractive and they've got their purpose. But if you need higher bandwidth, you have to go with a wider dish.
And are you, do you have a choice or a standard in, let's say, routers that have different WAN inputs, and when something goes away, it goes to the Starlink dish? Well, what's your scheme there?
Yeah, so this is actually what I'm configuring right now because the Starlink
Ah,
systems actually have, depending on which one you get, they have their own built-in router. So they'll give you an IP address just like any other device you can get from Best Buy or something like that. But the enterprise level ones don't come with that, and I actually like the Fortinet gear. Their hardware is actually, I mean, none of this stuff is cheap, but you can find it pretty reasonably priced for the features that you get. Or you can use a Ubiquity system as well if you want to go with. I've always liked the Ubiquity stuff, and those will allow you to do the Fortinet stuff will allow you to do multiple WAN failovers. Or in this case, what I'm actually the system I'm actually designing is using intraplexes, the Gates Air intraplexes to fail over on different streams on different networks. So there's a few different
mhm.
ways that I'm designing the network, and this is what I've been rolling out to make sure that, again, for both TV and radio, that I don't have to sweat when a storm comes through because the last three storms that we've had. I lost all of my STLs to my site. And after the third one, I'm like, something's got to give. I got to come up with a plan C. Yeah.
It seems like I saw a post on Facebook just today or yesterday about somebody who says, "Hey, I subscribe to the Starlink backup plan where it's like $5 a month until I use it.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that plan?
I don't know anything about that. That actually, I saw that too. That's my friend Chris, who actually lives just north of
Oh,
me, Chris Williams. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that you can start and stop the service from time to time as well. So you don't necessarily have to pay for it year round. You can. There are no contracts with it, so you can start and stop the service as you need.
okay. Okay. Do I consider this your tip of the week, or did you have something else?
No, I think that's again, that's what's consumed my time is getting this project going amongst some other things that I've been working on. So that's the big thing is if you haven't considered yet, it is to me pretty robust. It is not bulletproof by any means. It does have its flaws, but it in terms of a game changer for having a last mile option and not having to depend on somebody else, for your service to be connected, it was a game changer for me.
By the way, just because I happen to know about it, I'm going to put a link in the show notes about this website that shows you the calculated position of all of the Starlink satellites, and I mean the world is covered by these things. But what's I think more interesting is it shows you on the Earth the uplink sites, and you can click on an uplink site if it's in the U.S. Or it's FCC licensed. You can click on that and you can link to the frequencies that are being used and eventually to the FCC license itself if you want to see it. There is an uplink site, an hour and a half drive from my house. It's in Tracy City, Tennessee. And I have flown a drone over it, taken pictures of it, and it's just fascinating. It's about 9 of those big golf ball radomes, big. I mean, maybe 9 feet or so in diameter, with I'm sure satellite dishes inside them. And there's got to be fiber going along the highway there to provide that site with plenty of internet access. So there's a lot of these sites. But now I guess they have satellite to satellite beaming because they provide service in places where there is no uplink in the area at all. Kevin, you know about that?
I unfortunately I don't. I don't know a lot of the particulars about the service. I could just say that it works pretty good when I've set it up
It
where
works
I've set
good.
it up, and the footprint's pretty wide. I'm pretty impressed with the coverage that it offers.
Yeah, yeah, it is amazing. Hey, Kevin, thank you so very much. It's been great catching up with you and talking with you. Thanks for making yourself available, and I look forward to. I won't be in Columbus for the swearing in of the new directors. I've got another commitment. I think I'm going to be at Wabi or something. And anyway, I won't be there, but I'm sure I'll get up with you sometime.
Yeah, sorry to miss you there, but again, thank you and congrats to you for getting elected to the board of directors, and thank you to the SBE members for your confidence in me. And I'm looking forward to the coming year and some of the things that we'll accomplish. I think we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm certainly looking forward to doing it, and hopefully hear from a lot of you on your thoughts and ideas, and just looking forward to hitting the ground running.
All righty. Kevin Trueblood, thank you for joining us so very much. Kevin, you're at WGCU, right? Is that your
Yes.
station?
Yep.
Okay. I thought so. All right, we'll put a link in the show notes to your stations as well. Kevin Trueblood, new SBE president, elected as to the SBE. All right, we got to go. One big thanks to Suncast for engineering and producing today's show. I'm Kirk Harnack, coming to you from Pontevedra, Spain, where it's after midnight now, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye bye.